You ever wonder what makes a specific neighborhood just pop? Well, right now in Dhaka, one of its most organized areas, Bashundhara, is seeing this very specific rental boom. So, why are some apartments practically flying off the market? Let's get into it and figure out what's really going on. So, here's the big question we're going to unpack today. Why, in this super sought after neighborhood, are two-bedroom flats and furnished apartments the absolute hottest properties? The answer, it turns out, tells us a really fascinating story about modern city life in Dhaka. Okay, here's how we're going to break this all down. First up, we'll look at the big trend itself. Then, we'll dig into who is actually driving all this demand. After that, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of why this size and style are so popular. And finally, we'll talk about what this means for the future of city living. All right, let's kick things off with part one, the big housing trend. We're zooming right into Bashundhara because it's the perfect place to see this phenomenon in action. So what's the big secret? Well, it's actually pretty simple. It all boils down to these huge shifts in how people are living, how they're working, and of course, what they can afford. It's a story where practicality meets a whole new, more mobile way of life. Okay, so who exactly is behind all this? I mean, who are the people creating this massive demand? If you understand them, you pretty much understand the whole trend. And it's not just one type of person either. The demand is coming from this really interesting, diverse mix. You've got students from all the nearby universities, you've got young professionals just starting out, new couples, small families looking for a manageable space, and on top of that, a growing number of expats and people renting for their company. It's this exact mix that's shaping the entire market. This quote right here, this gets to the absolute heart of it. The population is dynamic and mobile. Think about that. We're moving away from the old idea of settling down in one huge family home for decades. People are on the move for school, for a job contract, for the next big opportunity. And that completely changes what they need from a place to live. So, we know who is moving in, but what exactly are they looking for when they get there? This brings us to the core of our explainer. Let's break down the two things that are defining this entire market. It really comes down to a simple formula: the right size plus the right setup. For the size, that's the 2 BHK, 2 bedrooms, a hall, and a kitchen. And for the setup, it's all about being fully furnished and ready to go. Let's look at why each of these is such a big deal. Okay, so the 2 BHK. Why is it so perfect? Because it hits that sweet spot. It's the Goldilocks of apartments. Not too big, not too small. It's spacious enough for a small family or for a couple of students to share, but it's not so big that the rent gets crazy. And for the landlords, it's a dream. There are so many people looking for this exact size that these apartments just don't stay empty for long. And then there's the convenience factor. For that mobile population we were just talking about, the students, the corporate folks on a 2-year contract, a furnished apartment is an absolute game changer. I mean, it gets rid of the massive headache of buying furniture, moving it, and then trying to sell it all when you leave. You just show up with your bags, and that's it. You're home. It's fast, it's simple, and that is incredibly valuable. And hey, don't just take my word for it. The data backs this up big time. Just look at this. See that rental demand column? For both 2 BHKs and furnished apartments, it's rated very high. That's way more than smaller 1-bedroom places or even the bigger 3-bedroom ones. This isn't just a feeling people have. The numbers show this is a seriously powerful force in the market. Okay, so let's zoom out for a second. What does all this mean for the bigger picture? Because really, this trend happening in one neighborhood in Dhaka, it's pointing to a much larger global shift in how we're all starting to live in cities. This is what it's all about. We're seeing a fundamental change in what people value. More and more, we're choosing flexibility and convenience. That old dream of owning a huge house is slowly being replaced by the desire for a low-maintenance life that lets you pick up and move when you need to. And you might be thinking, is this just a passing fad? Nope, not at all. The engines driving this whole thing are still firing on all cylinders. The universities, they guarantee a fresh wave of students every single year. As Dhaka's economy grows, so do the corporate contracts, and global mobility just keeps increasing. So yeah, this demand is baked right in. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. Could the rental market in Bashundhara just be a little preview of the future for big cities everywhere? As our lives get more and more mobile, maybe the ultimate luxury isn't owning property anymore. Maybe it's the freedom and convenience to live wherever you need to be, whenever you want. Definitely something to think about.